Hey, how's it going, everyone? I'm Nathan with the ebookreader.com. For this video, I'm going to show you how the Kobo Elipsa handles PDFs. You got a stylus to write on the screen as well. I'll show you that shortly. So this is Kobo's first 10.3-inch e-reader. It also doubles as an notepad, of course. So it has a rotation sensor, so you can rotate the screen however you want. If you want to use it left-handed with the larger side to the left side or landscape mode, so you got some different options with that. You can also lock the rotation to portrait or landscape if you don't want it changing. So you can adjust the front light by swiping up and down the left side of the screen. So the Kobo Elipsa just has the cool cut front light. It doesn't have the warm front light, but it does have the option to use dark mode to invert the white text, or to have white text with a black background. I'll show that towards the end of the video. So let's go ahead and load up a PDF. This is Kobo's home screen. If we go over to the library view, you can sort by file type if you want to get access to your PDFs quickly. They have it usually so it'll go to the bottom of the list. So if you just swipe up, go back down here, so it has CBZ and then it goes PDF. So that's one way to get to your PDFs. Easier option would be just to create some collections. So you can create custom collections on here. You can also use Caliber. Then you can just have like a PDF section to easily access your PDF files. The Elipsa also supports Dropbox, so you could transfer files that way as well wirelessly. So let's go ahead and load up a PDF here. So I mean, it's going to depend on the layout of your PDFs, how well it fits the screen. This particular PDF, it's got pretty large margins, and that's one weird thing about Kobo software here is, so presently you can increase the zoom level. So you got the zoom dial. You can customize it exactly how you want it to fit the page. Then you can scroll around the page however you want using your fingers. So this is more of a panning mode. So it's not like a cropping mode. So the only problem with this kind of a feature is when you turn pages, it'll reset to the top left corner. So if you had it set up to follow the column of your PDF, it's gonna go back and you'll have to reset it by panning. So yeah, there isn't an actual crop feature, which is kind of annoying with the software. I was hoping that they would add something like that. There's also no contrast control. I'd like to see them add contrast control and make the text a bit darker. You can use pinch zooming, so that's another way to zoom in as well. It just activates that same panning mode. So once you're zoomed in, you can pan around. And then again, once you turn the page, it will reset to the top left corner again. So, I mean, you're pretty much going to have to go with the default layout unless you want to pan around every time. But you do have the note-taking option on PDFs as well, so you can add notes and highlights to your PDFs using the stylus. It has two buttons on it. You can use the one of the buttons to erase. One of the buttons adds highlights. So with PDFs, it's free-form highlighting, so it doesn't snap to the line of the text like it does with ebooks. So here's a closer look at the stylus. You got one button for highlighting, one button for erasing, and then on the other end it's got this top that comes off, and there's a replaceable battery in there, quadruple A battery. But the responsiveness is quite good, as you can see on here. I really like the feel of the writing. It's got a heavy heavy texture on the screen, and it gives it like a nice paper-like feel. But there's a very limited amount of features with PDFs and writing. For instance, you can't export any of this stuff presently. I don't know if they're going to add that in the future, but any notes that you add, handwritten notes or highlights you add to PDFs, only viewable on the Elipsa. There's no way to get these off at this moment. So at some point, I'd like to see them add a export option. You've also got the option to add bookmarks by tapping the upper right corner there, and then you can view all your bookmarks and your annotations and highlights on the annotations list right here. You got a couple different sorting options you can do by recent. So you've got all your annotations in one list, and you can jump back around to the different pages they were added to. You've also got the table of contents access from over here. It's also available from the lower left on the main page. So you can jump around to the different parts of the book. You've also got the option to use the page dial at the lower of the screen. And then one thing you can do is when you're jumping around the pages of the book, it'll have this little back button that it'll add to you here. So if you want to go back to your previous location, you can. So you can kind of, have different ways to navigate. Another thing you can do is use this little scrolling thing here so you can view different pages without leaving the page you're currently on. There isn't a multi-page view like there is on some devices. You can just view the one page at a time, so that might be kind of limiting with PDFs depending on your usage. So you can run searches on here as well. So you have the different options up here. So it was automatically defaulted to dictionary because that's probably what I used last. You can go in and change to whatever. So if you wanted to search your book, you just change it to the current read. It will take it a little bit here. Sometimes I try to get a little jumpy here and it won't register. It's got a process it here for a second, and then you can jump around to the different locations. You can use the arrows down here to navigate to the different references of the word that you searched for. So that actually works pretty well. I do like how the search function works on the Kobo. It's relatively quick as well. So with PDFs, most PDFs, the dictionary seems to work now. It didn't used to on the older devices, but it does seem to work now for the most part. You got a bunch of different dictionary options. You can also reference whatever you highlight to look it up on Wikipedia or Google, and it will open up the web browser. And it's actually pretty quick how to open that, just not having used the web browser previously. So like I said earlier, you can lock the rotation if you don't want it moving around. But yeah, you can rotate this to landscape mode if you want as well. So if you wanted to get the text a little bit larger without messing with the zoom and panning, you can just rotate it to landscape mode. With the larger screen, most PDFs tend to work pretty well, in portrait mode, but you do have the option if you wanted to use landscape. The only thing I don't like is the way it sets the page on this particular PDF. I don't know if it's like that always, but you always have to page 3 times instead of twice, even though it's only a millimeter from the bottom. But of course, you can use the zooming and panning as well in landscape, and nothing changes that way. Another thing I forgot to mention earlier, one way you can navigate to a little bit quicker is if you hold down in the lower corners, it'll automatically turn the pages. I don't think this used to work with PDFs. It used to only work with Kobo's format, but it does work with PDFs now, so you can kind of turn the pages a bit quicker. That definitely is a nice addition. So like I was saying earlier, I would like them to add a contrast control, because some PDFs have lighter text than others. This one kind of has light text. A lot of PDF readers, they have the contrast adjustment, so you can make the text darker. I would like to see Kobo add that, because presently there isn't anything for that. Just sort of depends, how your PDF's laid out. Like this one, it looks really good. The text is nice and dark, a lot darker than that previous one. So, I mean, it just kind of depends on your individual files, how it's going to work. Like I mentioned earlier, you also have dark mode for white text on a black background if you wanted to use that with your PDFs. I'm not entirely sure how useful that would be for PDFs, but I mean, you do have that option. Seems to work pretty well now that it's an official feature. The refreshing is a lot smoother. The screen just looks better, not as much ghosting or anything like that. So, I mean, overall, this is a pretty basic PDF reader as far as, the software features go, but the large screen definitely helps it out some. Not being able to export the notes is definitely a downer, but I think they should be able to add that at some point in the future. Just make it so you can export screenshots if nothing else. But I mean, the screen looks great. This is with the front light turned off and natural lighting. I really do like the screen on the Kobo Elipsa. This PDF software could be a bit better. If you need more advanced features, something like the Onyx Note models are probably going to work out a little better for you. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this PDF review. Check out the ebookreader.com for the full review of the Kobo Elipsa. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.